Mysterious Sanskrit inscriptions, the first civilization on Earth, shipwrecks of different eras in one place, and much more await you in this video. Hi friend, you're on the KirTop channel. 110 graves in the Nile Delta. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities told about a new find made at the archaeological site of Kamel Kugan in the Kalia province, about 150 kilometers northeast of Cairo. Archaeologists have unearthed 110 tombs. Some have preserved human remains. 68 tombs of this number belong to the pre-dynastic period of the civilization of Lower Egypt, which spans 6,000–3,150 BC. These are oval-shaped pits carved into the sandstone. The people buried in them were located mainly on the left side with bent knees. Their head was facing west. The burial of a child in a ceramic vessel was also found here. The 37 rectangular tombs date from the ancient era known as the Second Intermediate Period, 1782–1570 BC, when the Hyksos ruled ancient Egypt. The depth of the burial pits is 85 centimeters, and the bodies in them were laid in an extended position, face up, but also in a westerly direction. Children who died during this period were buried in coffins or clay vessels. And 5 more oval tombs are evidence of the culture of Nagada III, 3200–3000 BC. Pottery, amulets, jewelry, and other interesting artifacts were found in these and other graves. Knight's War Spear. The Royal Armoury of Great Britain today holds nearly 80,000 samples of weapons, armor, and artillery dating from ancient times to the present day. The rich collection has been replenished with unique exhibits over a long period of its existence. And from the end of the 16th century, the spear of Charles Brandon, 1st Duke of Suffolk, was located in one row with them. Charles came from a not-so-noble family, influenced by a successful choice of side in the Civil War, War of the Roses. The Brandons fought in the last battle for Henry Tudor, soon Henry VII. Charles himself was distinguished by a punchy character, which contributed to his brilliant career at the court of King Henry VIII, King of England from 1509 to 1547. He received the title of Duke of Suffolk at the age of 30. Before that, he managed to be a knight in Henry's retinue, even before the latter's accession to the throne. It is believed that then they became close friends. Later, Charles even married the monarch's sister. They also participated in tournaments together and more than once faced in fights, in one of which the 1st Duke of Suffolk almost killed the king. The incident happened in 1524. With regards to military successes, Charles Brandon was seen more than once going into battle at the forefront of the British Army. Perhaps he broke more than one spear in the course of impressive knightly strikes against the enemies of the kingdom. But it was this weapon from the museum in Leeds that, judging by the preservation, did not see any battles at all. At the same time, you can't tell a tournament either. With a full length of 4.36 meters, much more than the tournament copies, it weighs 8.87 kilograms, almost 3 times heavier than them. Mini Terracotta Army. Inside the 2,100-year-old pit, Chinese archaeologists have uncovered a miniature army, elaborate chariots, watchtowers, and tiny statues of cavalrymen, infantrymen, and musicians. The find looks like a miniature version of the Terracotta Army, a life-sized collection of chariots and sculpture of soldiers, horses, artists, and civilian officials, which was created for Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. Based on the design of the artifacts found, archaeologists believe they were made about 2,100 years ago, or about a century after the Terracotta Army. The southern part of the pit is filled with cavalry and chariot formations, as well as models of watchtowers 140 centimeters high. In the center of the pit, about 300 infantrymen stand in a square formation. And in the northern part of the pit, there is a model of a theater pavilion with the small sculptures of musicians. Based on the date, size, and location of the pit, archaeologists believe that this army may have been built for Lu Hong, Prince of Qi, part of China, who was the son of Emperor Wu Di, reigned 141–87 BC. Han lived in Linz, a Chinese city near an open pit, and died in 110 BC. The ancient texts say that Lu Hong became Prince of Qi very young and unfortunately died early without leaving any successor. Shortly before Hong's death, according to the works of the ancient historian Bang Gu, a comet appeared in the sky over China. If the pit and its ceramic army were to protect Lu Hong or some other noble person in the afterlife, then the grave must be somewhere nearby, although the tomb could have been destroyed. Some of the rulers of the Han Dynasty continued to build pits with armies of ceramic soldiers for their burials, but the soldiers were already much smaller. Mysterious Sanskrit inscriptions. An incredible discovery was recently made in India that greatly enriched the history of the already vibrant temple. 21 copper plates from the medieval era were discovered by the authorities of Sri Salem at the Mallikarjuna temple in India and date back to the 16th century and possibly even earlier. The tablets found were reported to have been written in the subcontinental languages Sanskrit, Kannada, and Telugu. In general, literally over the past few months, many artifacts have been discovered in Sri Salem. Of the 6 sets of copper plates, 4 sets are written in Sanskrit and Nandi Nagari script, and 2 others are in Telugu, but scientists have yet to decipher them. Moreover, these findings have become the 3rd wave of such discoveries over the past few years. In October 2020, a brass box was discovered in ancient Ganta Matam, containing 15 British-era gold coins, 18 silver coins, and a gold ring. In 2017, literally became a treasure trove, bringing among other important artifacts 700 grams of gold jewelry, including 3 gold cadeums weighing 525 grams, 18 gold coins, and 4 rings. The silver component of the treasure is 147 silver coins, a silver vessel weighing 395 grams, and a glass of 133 grams. It is worth nothing that the Mallikarjuna temple in Sri Salem in the southern Indian state of Andhra Pradesh is dedicated to the deity Shiva, one of the most popular and revered gods of the Hindu pantheon. He received patronage from royal kings and empires, especially during the Middle Ages, and some inscriptions indicate the temple has existed since at least the 2nd century AD. The first civilization on Earth. The data available to historians indicate that it was the Sumerian civilization that preceded the rest. The Sumerians came to the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, also known as Mesopotamia, at the end of the 4th millennium BC, driving out the Proto-Sumerian tribes from their homes. The Sumerian civilization had a pronounced agricultural character, supported by an extensive irrigation system on which the life of the first city-states of Mesopotamia depended: Kish, Uruk, Separ, etc. The Sumerians are considered the founders of cuneiform, the earliest form of writing known to science. The most ancient monument of Sumerian writing is a tablet from the city of Kish, dating from approximately 3500 BC. The system of symbols depicted on it is a transitional link from pictographic proto-writing to cuneiform writing. According to the results of archaeological research, the Sumerians had knowledge of the extraction and smelting of copper and were also very familiar with the wheel. Each Sumerian city was an independent state, nom, with a leader and patron god. In such a city, the prototype of the ancient Greek city-states, up to 50–60,000 people could live. However, a kind of center was still. It was Nippur, in which the sanctuary of Enlil, the main deity of the Sumerian pantheon, one of the most ancient religions in the world, was located. To date, the history of the mysterious civilization of the Sumerians has overgrown with a huge number of conjectures, but it is known for certain that these people had knowledge of the heliocentric system of the world, knew about the circle of the zodiac, possessed the sexagesimal number system, its echoes have come down to us in the dial of the clock and the division of the year into season and month, and kept a historical chronicle. In the 24th century BC, the Sumerian civilization was conquered and absorbed by the Babylonian kingdom. About Atlantis, the civilization mentioned in Plato's dialogues, we only know that it existed about 9,000 years ago, was located on islands near the Strait of Gibraltar, and sank to the bottom of the ocean due to a powerful earthquake. Most modern scientists agree that Atlantis is nothing more than an invention of the ancient Greek philosopher, but many researchers still do not give up hope of finding confirmation of its existence. In the epics of the inhabitants of Tibet, India, and Polynesia, you can find references to an ancient civilization called Lemuria. According to legends, about 80,000 years ago, the waters of the Indian Ocean washed the mainland inhabited by snake-headed proto-men. In the middle of the 19th century, scientists suggested that the island of Madagascar may be part of a sunken continent. Later, studies showed that about 60 million years ago, Madagascar was part of the Hindustan Peninsula. Perhaps there is no mystery and the notorious Lemuria is part of the Hindustan Plate, previously separated from the Asian continent. Hyperborea is another mysterious northern continent whose inhabitants are credited with creating the most ancient Slavic civilization. An indication of Hyperborea is very often found in ancient Greek mythology, but still the overwhelming majority of researchers are inclined to the pseudo-historical nature of this location. Shipwrecks with valuable artifacts. Divers managed to find 2 vessels at once off the coast of Singapore, on board of which there are still valuable artifacts dating from the 14th and 18th centuries. While doing field work off the island of Pedra Branca, divers accidentally discovered several debris from an unknown shipwreck. During excavations and raising valuable artifacts to the surface, underwater archaeologists 300 meters away discovered another shipwreck in the holds of which there were no less valuable items from Chinese ceramics in the form of blue porcelain bowls with lotus and peony motifs from the Yuan dynasty. According to the researchers, these treasures are not related to each other and belong to different periods. Moreover, as experts note on the first ship, the number of Chinese bowls and other items made of valuable ceramics was more than ever found on any ship in the world. Several items from the discovered pottery are very rare and one is unique. The discovered objects are very significant for history, the value of which is not yet undertaken to determine even experienced experts. According to the researchers, the discovered figurines are of no less important value than the same Chinese porcelain. All artifacts discovered and raised to the surface have been preserved for exhibition at the museum, which is planned to be done at the end of this year. Amazing Towers of Silustani. Some chalps, this is the name of these cylindrical structures, quite unexpectedly impressed with the quality of the masonry and the size of the blocks. There are many much simpler ones, but they are quite possibly a later attempt to repeat perfect forms. Even more striking was the masonry of the so-called square chalpa of the Inca period. The Incas perhaps only hammered it with rubble inside. It is also strange that the blocks from this chalpa are scattered at a distance of tens of meters from it. It is unlikely that the Spaniards, trying to get to the treasures in the burial, would have spent such efforts. The blocks would be lying nearby. But then, what kind of force threw these blocks so far? The accepted version, chalps are the graves of leaders and nobility. It is possible that this is how the Indians used them, but it is not clear what the Indians were not able to do originally for. The cavity inside could be filled with rubble at any time. The closest analogues is brick kilns, which come across nearby on the way to Bolivia. The ovens may have a very similar shape and the same opening at the bottom. However, chalps would be as good as smelting furnaces. Geoglyphs in India. Surely everyone knows about the geoglyphs of the desert or the Nazca Plateau. These are huge drawings of animals and birds, as well as about 13,000 lines, stripes, and about 700 geometrical figures made on the surface of the plateau by excavation from 30 to 50 centimeters deep and up to several hundred meters long. They can only be seen from a bird's eye view, and until now they were considered unique. However, in 2018, similar drawings were discovered in India, in the state of Maharashtra, and caused quite a stir in the archaeological world. Moreover, it depicts animals characteristic of Africa and not at all for India. It is precisely this discovery that casts doubt on the version of the official history. After all, it was previously stated that the Nazca lines were made by the local population for irrigating fields. This is the most common version, although it does not stand up to criticism. Then comes the option that the Nazca complex was created to solve astrological geological problems and is an astronomical calendar. But for some reason, in all assumptions, it is forgotten that the lines are visible only from a great height, and using a calendar that is not visible from the ground is at least stupid. I doubt that the ancient people were more stupid than we are. I have no doubt that an older civilization existed before us, which did not occupy separate continents but lived all over the globe. Hence, the same traces left in the form of mysterious buildings with polygonal masonry similar in Asia and America. And the geoglyphs of India prove this once again. Or do you think that different people on different continents came up with one idea: to draw huge drawings visible only from above? What for? Subscribe to the channel if you liked the video and write your comments about it. Thanks for your views. Bye everyone!